Nova Scotia's EMO asked to use the hall as a registration centre for residents of Portapique who had fled their homes.
For residents of Portapique who had fled their homes.
An RCMP officer was posted here in a cruiser. By this time, police were on the hunt for the shooter, who they knew was impersonating a police officer. At 10:30 a.m., 2 RCMP officers fired multiple shots outside the hall. Sources have told CTV News the officers thought they were firing at the suspect, when it was in fact a fellow Mountie.
This program is brought to you in part by...
Why don't you get yourself some turned-down collars, Poirot? They're much more the thing, you know.
The thing, Hastings? Do you think Poirot concerns himself with mere thingness?
No. No, I see that.
The turned-down collar is the first symptom of decay of the grey cells.
You know, I just think if people keep pushing, I can't, first of all, thank enough all of the hard work. There's 3 fellow YouTubers who are working very, very hard with me on this one. Rage in the Cage, Steve LTT, and Just My Stupid Opinion. Just plugging them, sorry. But they are fantastic guys, really been busting their humps here. And, you know, stepping up to the plate, because there's a certain amount of risk saying certain things. And also, likewise, all of the people who are volunteering information and time, which, like I said, over on the Discord or sending me anonymously information, it is fantastic.
Oh, for fuck's sake. All right. Anyways, I don't know. The StreamYard decided to mute me for some reason. Anyway, the hat is for somebody specific. Green Bastard, Sophie, Lucky Strike, Point Fire, Karen. Thanks for the welcome back, Mark. Appreciate that. Kelly and Lynn. I hope you know I was just joking with you, Lynn. I have a bad sense of humor sometimes. Karen, all right. How's everybody doing? I need to start over. Guess what I have? Yum. TNT. Brothers. Okay. Maybe I might eat some of that. So we had some warrants released, and I was going to run through those, but you know what? I will run through what Tim said, obviously, and I will go through an article. Let me pick the article up, because I had to send it. Thank you for sending it to me. Where's that? Is that over here? Jesus, I don't know where I send things to myself. It's like talking to yourself, you know? See, I talk to myself here, kind of. But you talk to me too. Should be over here, shouldn't it? Is that it? There we go. Actually, no, I want to do it this way. Copy link. How's that? And we'll do paste link. Okay. All right. So we got that. And then we'll do the Tweeties. No, man. This stuff, you and I were talking about that. This stuff is weak. It is seriously weak. TNT blows. It's good. It tastes great, but no. Spice, no. I think we need some Seamus pepperoni. How's it going? Harles! Maybe Harles and I need to go for some Nova Scotia food. I had a genuine Halifax donair. I guess it's not genuine because it's not from Halifax directly, but this weekend also, and I had a donair pizza. I went all out. Well, actually, my girlfriend bought it for me. Shh. Somebody at once upon a time said, your girlfriend supports you. I'm like, really? Okay. Let's start with the article. Pho? You want pho? Let's go there. We'll do that. You keep cutting in and out. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's RCMP. This is out of the Chronicle Herald. So they got an article right away. I think if you guys have any links for anything, let me know. To the best of my knowledge, and thank you to the person who contributed this. I know you know who you are. Mass shooter wore melancholy look before wounding Mountie. Search warrants 3 hours ago. Perhaps we should archive it. What do you think? Archive? Archive.org never works anymore. Oh, 8,000. Wow. A lot of people archiving right now. The gunman of mass shooting in Nova Scotia is spotted on video surveillance changing his clothes in Millbrook on April 19th, 2020. Contributed. I was making a comment to somebody today about the contributed unsourced material. Very interesting how these things happen. Screw off, Andrew at Frank. Frank's kind of pissed me off a little bit recently, but anyway. The RCMP officer wounded by mass shooter in April says the killer was wearing melancholic expression before he shot at the Mountie. Now one has to think about, well, I guess he was looking at him in his car. Constable Chad Morrison was planning to meet up with Constable Heidi Stevenson at the intersection of 2 and Highway 224 when the killer showed up in his fake police car, the black push bar. Ooh, on the Dartmouth Denturist's car gave Morrison some pause. But based on the fact that Constable Stevenson had said that it was her when they talked on the radio, Morrison relaxed, and according to the new search warrants in the case released Monday. Other than the black push bar, there was nothing different about the marked police car. That would be because maybe it's not a replica. The killer wasn't going fast, but then Morrison noticed the driver was a man, not Stevenson. Wow, he's got really fast vision, eh? This guy? Somebody just drives up. He already knows. And is it behind him too? Because you have to think about the directions of travel here, right? This is why I'm going to go through this a little bit more thoroughly later. But we'll just run through it quick for now because I don't know about some of this stuff here. But then Morrison noticed that the driver was a man, not Stevenson. He brought his car up beside Morrison so they would be window to window. That's when Morrison realized the driver was the man police were searching for, who had murdered multiple people in Portapique, then took his killing spree to Wentworth Valley before heading back toward Halifax. How convenient. This is like the gas station, you know? Just pulls up. Just he's right there. Didn't do it all night, though. Didn't go after police. No, not at all. That doesn't strike any of you as odd. The whole entire evening, what is this? Go away. Doesn't go after police, doesn't target police, but then he is going to target police the next day. Okay. Quote, Constable Morrison said the suspect looked to have a melancholic look. Melancholic look expression as he was turning in front of him, and then had a, quote, grit look on his face as he started to raise his gun, say search warrants. The killer, whom Saltwire is not naming, which would be Gabriel Wortman, brandished a handgun out of the window and began firing on him, end quote. He thinks the man dressed in a Mountie uniform fired 3 or 4 shots from the silver handgun, according to the search warrants. He's noting down a lot of details. Policemen do have to know a lot of details, but this would have happened very fast. And from what I understand, behind him, according to search warrants, it happened in a split second. Quote, end quote. The 11-year veteran of the RCMP hit an emergency response button on the radio in his patrol car several times to indicate he needed help, but he didn't think it worked, said the warrants. So he got on his radio, said he had been shot and was going to the emergency health services in Milford. I'm reading through this, by the way, for my first time. I just got back. I was hoping I would have a chance to review some more of this, but I did a little bit. Tim's tweets this morning. Constable Morrison tried to get into the station, but nobody was there. He started worrying about what would happen if the shooter followed him there and, quote, how he would be sitting duck if he was in the parking lot, end quote, said the search warrant. So he grabbed his rifle and went behind the EHS building. From there, he could see the scene where the gunman had shot Stevenson. On his radio, he could hear another police officer say, quote, Stevenson is down. The Dartmouth killer killed 22, including 23. They still want to mess around with this nonsense. Can you hold on one moment, please? Sorry. Including Stevenson. This one's got it. They've got it. I'm getting really upset about this one. Listen, the families have asked for specific things. Nobody is listening to the families on any of this stuff. It's really upsetting. And this one is pretty minor. The press, even though we all kind of can conclude that they're working probably for powers other than the family, that's a pretty minor one you could give to the families. At least one. Come on, give these people one thing. They're asking for 23. Can you not do that? 23. Including Stevenson during his April 18th, 19th shooting spree that ended when Mountie shot him dead at the Enfield Big Stop because they were just waiting there and pulled up for gas. How handy. More to come. Uh-oh. My dog is upset about something or other. So I wanted to go through this also. Yes. This is one thing. One thing. Do you know that these warrants, to the best of my knowledge, did not, nobody discussed this. Once again, Harry Bond's quote that he finds out through the media, just like all the families find out through the media. You know, if I had a yellow belly, I'd show it to you, because that's yellow belly. That's coward. Babies do that, hide behind skirts. And that's what they do, because they don't want to answer any questions, ever. Wonder why. Must be that transparency thing. Open, honest, and transparent. Really? Don't know about that. I thought I'd bring in this article because I thought it was illustrative, once again, of their garbage. Judge, RCMP investigator, quote, made declarations under oath that do not appear to be factually correct. I like this wording. You know what you call that in real life? I believe that's called a lie. More of the open, honest, and transparent. In court. The one place that they have to tell the truth. Sounds like Susie Bootlin again, 2.0. Or should we say Susie Bootlin was probably RCMP 5000.0? They lie constantly. There is no such thing as truth coming from these people. In a very unusual move. Not so. It's happened recently. The Soon case was another great one. Thanks, Tim, for that. I'm going to have to go through all that here at some point. That's why I've been taking some time. It's not that I've still been trying to figure out how to tell certain stories that have come. It's a complicated mess. A Nova Scotia judge has ruled that an RCMP investigator made statements in court application that were not true. Let's see, what are we dealing here with? Warrants? Is that an application? Oh, that's right. Oops. Hey, Truro, how's it going? Truth. So, applications for warrants that are not true. The pattern. And that investigators' methods are typical of investigations that lead to wrongful convictions. Assume? How many other cases do we have like that? At issue was a court application made by an investigator looking into the circumstances of a car crash in which one person died and two people survived. The circumstances matches the particulars in a July 16th crash on Egypt Road in Hillside. None of the people involved in the crash are named in the judge's decision. The investigator's application to the court is known as what's that? Information to obtain, or ITO. Are we talking about ITOs today? ITO release. Okay. My cynicism and dripping. Anyways, this is dripping. It's deluge. A document submitted when police asked the court to approve a search warrant, whereas in this case, a production order required an institution to turn over documents. Oh, like assume? In particular, the investigator wanted Judge Del Atwood to order the health authority to produce hospital records of two survivors of the crash because the investigator suspected the driver of the vehicle was drunk. In his ruling, Judge did not name the investigator. I wonder if that works in real life. If I'm running around in line lying, can I just say, well, you don't name me? Does that work? Or when you're a liar, do you get called out? You want to lie. You want to lie. Beyond perjury, which this person should face serious jail time for. These people need to get hit hard. Of course, he's just going to be back on the job. She. Going to be back on the job. You know that, right? Because that's what happens. That's why they don't name them, because they're yellow bellies. Yellow belly cowards. Truth, people stand up. Cowards hide behind lies. But he refers to the investigator as officer, making it clear that it's an RCMP officer. The investigator began on the wrong foot. Tim's being awful pleasant here. Opening an ITO with what Atwood called an improvident start. I haven't seen this word in a while. You know what? I'm going to look it up. Not having shown foresight, spendthrift, or thoughtless. So we have a dum-dum. Well, that's good. A dum-dum, or is he just a coward? I think probably. Hey, Tracy, what's going on? Todd's in the house. A quote, attached is a production order and ITO for Judge Atwood, sick, to review and authorize. Once completed, Judge Atwood, sick, can fax back the signed warrant to the Stellarton RCMP detachment. Hopefully I'm not getting my pronunciation wrong here. Quote, it appears the officer labors under the misapprehension. Really? Shared by a number of policing services in this part of the province, that the role of the court in the warrant issuance process is an automatic one. So why do we even have a court? Automatic ones. Sorry. Which I think the judge is going to get into. Merely rubber stamp applications by investigative agencies, wrote Atwood. Not so. This is because the decision whether to issue a warrant, an order or warrant, involves the exercise of judicial discretion. Judicial discretion. That's why they get paid the bucks, not to just sit in a chair, because they get they've been well trained, supposedly, and are experienced enough with the law that they understand the process and that they rule within the letter of the law. They don't just sit there. We can have a robot. It went downhill from there. This is not sounding good. I like this guy, Atwood. Atwood wrote, quote, the ITO includes the process of witness statements. In a preliminary part of the ITO, the investigator states, quote, the RCMP have obtained statements from witnesses which provide evidence to support that name redacted was operating the vehicle at the time of the collision. The emphasis is added, but this is the problem with this, right? They've obtained statements. Later on in the ITO, the investigator states, statements from witnesses provide evidence that name redacted was operating a vehicle on location redacted, more Sharpie, and was driving at a very high rate of speed, emphasis added. These declarations were made, what? Under oath in the ITO, do not appear to be factually correct. This is nice liberal dumb down talk. Dumb talk. I don't even really believe in this left-right garbage, but factually correct. This is newspeak for lying. And it just needs to be said that way. My review of the ITO, which I've confirmed as accurate with the prosecutor in a formal hearing, reveals one witness statement and one only. Oh, plural. Which identifies name redacted as the operator of the vehicle, which was involved in the accident. From this, I draw the inference that either one, the ITO has failed to disclose other pertinent statements, or two, the ITO overstates the evidence which has been gathered by police. In either case, I am led to the conclusion that the ITO does not present the court with the full and frank disclosure. Oh, but I thought they were so transparent. Necessary for an ex parte application to warrant the issuance of a production order. This would be enough to deny the application. So let's inflate it. Say that there's more people involved so that we can get the warrant. But, quote, there is more, wrote Atwood, who got into a legal and philosophical analysis of different levels of, quote, suspicion, before noting that regardless of the epistemological meanings, the fact remains that the ITO, in an ITO, that reveals subjective suspicion only, subjective suspicion only, reasonable or otherwise, does not pass the test required for issuance of a production order. You think there's some bullshit going on with those warrants? Oh, I think there's a lot of bullshit. Suffice it to say that the ITO reveals material ambiguity as to the identity of the person who was operating the vehicle involved in this mishap. To be sure, an investigation will almost inevitably identify persons of interest. However, a proper investigation will not fix itself prematurely on any one person. Oh, so you just target somebody without sufficient evidence, but will seek to put theories of liability to the test. Not so here, it seems. The investigator has locked on a person of interest and now seeks to gather information not to test or challenge the accuracy of this preliminary theory, but to nail it down. Is it possible that we had a little bit of that going on? I'm not saying that Mr. Wardman wasn't the shitbag, but you're narrowing on one person and you're saying that's it. Thank you, go home. We're done here. Here we have, again, evidence of that. And they'll lie to do it. What was this? Aristotle? Whatever, fuck off. Judge Atwood cannot be aware of Nova Scotia's long history of wrongful convictions, including the wrongful convictions of Donald Marshall Jr. and Glenn Assoon, among others. There are repeated themes in wrongful convictions, and with surprising directness, Atwood pointed at exactly the problem. Yay, win. I love great judges. Please ask why Al Bégin was removed. Not to change the topic. Al Bégin. Where did he go? And then Halfpenny McQuarrie, who is currently under a judicial review. The one that's handling the warrants? Al Beijing. Not real fan of RCMP in terms of funny games. No, Al Beijing, not that. Halfpenny McQuarrie? Oh, that's fine. I think might as well have sleep on the bench. God, my grandfather, he was a judge. Not like that. This is dangerous territory. Quote, this is dangerous territory. I say so because almost every commission of inquiry conducted in Canada into proven instances of wrongful conviction has identified investigative tunnel vision as being major factor leading to the miscarriages of justice. Tunnel vision involves focusing prematurely on a person of interest, then gathering and analyzing evidence selectively. Ugh. This is not how you do investigations. You don't have the foregone conclusion and you try to prove that. You let the evidence lead you to the conclusion. Evidence that confirms the identity of the person of interest as the offender will be preserved and made prominent. Evidence that may be exculpatory will be discounted and written off. I believe that this investigation is infected with that frailty, that very frailty. It's still being nice with words. I don't like mincing words. The investigator does not seek to scrutinize circumstances of ambiguity. Rather, he has decided already who is responsible, and he seeks evidence to confirm what is clearly a premature conclusion. That is an improper investigative process. Judge Atwood denied the application. Yay, I'm actually going to download that. Amazing. Good to have. I like these files of garbage. Beijing run for mayor in Truro before he was warranted. Before it was wanted to disband the Truro police. Not sure if he was serious or not. I would still like to know where he went. He was only in on that. Thank you, Alex. He was only involved in the warrants, David Cole's application to unseal the redactions on behalf of the media. Al Beijing was only present for under a week, maybe week thereabouts. Very end of April, and then he got the boot or disappeared. Perhaps it was a process that I'm unfamiliar with. I don't know everything definitely legally, but it seems very strange. I've seen it before. Not the first time. Not the first time. RCMP has a track record. Government. You have a track record. I don't like feeling like this. I feel really dirty because this is me. The Examiner, okay, so that's it. So we can go through a little bit of Tim's stuff too, and I'll go through some of your comments. I want a chance to see the warrant before I go into a lot of detail analysis. If you guys want to put down, yes, okay, thank you, Ms. Fox. We'll go with, and then I didn't realize Global had an article on that as well. Yes, they did speak of, I did read Tim's tweets or some of them this morning and retweeted them out. The Red Surge and the uncle. Where's the other stuff coming from? Where's the Halifax uniform coming from? Balls. Let's see what we got here. Faceberg. We've got one here from The Record. I'm not familiar with The Record. Does anybody know The Record? We've got It Happened in a Split Second. We've got CTV Atlantic. Not seeing the global one. Okay. Flagged for suspicious cash. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The cash withdrawals. Let's go with the Record here first. I'm not familiar with The Record. Is that a yeah, here, I'll drop these links in. Oh, thank you. Here's the records. I apologize. I will drop the Examiner in here now, which was the other case. And I will drop the Chronicle Herald one in. And thank you, Ms. Fox, for dropping in Global. I believe this is the same one. Is that the same one that you linked? Yes. Okay, good. Out of the Facebergs. Or which one? Why don't we just start with this one? Prelude to Nova Scotia's shooter's rampage described in newly released court documents. Steve McKinley. I'm not familiar with this person. Oh, here we go with the PR campaign stuff. This was just an absolute... These photos are just shams. It's like Enfield. They really seriously think people are this stupid. Oh, you want me to sign in? Okay, well, that's getting nixed. Next one. It happened in a split second. Court documents revealed details in wounding of RCMP officer during Nova Scotia shooting. Heidi Patrick. Sorry. Not even going to start. Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm not going to touch that. Halifax, court documents released by a judge's order, the one who's up for judicial review, order today contains more details surrounding horrific mass killings that took place in Nova Scotia's Colchester County this past April, including what an injured RCMP officer witnessed as he was approached and shot by a gunman. 2020, what is this again? What is this? Seriously? I am mad. Can they just get that? All of the families have asked for that. Don't do that anymore. I don't know how to get through to these people. I think we need to start as a group collectively mass emailing these people. Maybe that's something we can do over there on the Discord. That sounds like something effective. We can write all of these institutions and say, please listen to the victims' families. They have specifically asked you. Do not refer to it as 22. And you repeatedly do. Who are you listening to? Who are you reporting for? There's a very good reason that number is there, by the way. Very good. 22 people. Fuck you, man. 23. people died in a shooting rampage that occurred over more than 13 hours. April 18th and 19th. One of the people who was shot was also pregnant at the time of the death. Well, then this number is off. A series of search warrants and other documents released today in a state include a statement given by Constable Chad Morrison of the Nova Scotia RCMP. Morrison was shot and injured during a massive manhunt for Gabriel Wortman. Or should we do like, what did they do over there at Saltwire? Who we shall not name, as Mr. Trudeau has asked, so you can please forget about what happened. We don't want anybody looking at it anymore. Hey, Steve. What's up? Can't steal Michael Jordan's number. Baby beaten. Thank you. We all know this. Where the hell are they? Can't believe that, you know, it's like a small group, not a small group necessarily, though, 1,000 people roughly, you guys, and then it's getting rebroadcast elsewhere on other people's channels and things. We all understand 23. We respect the fact that they've asked for 23. They don't want to listen to that. They want to play their narrative up to the full. Morrison was shot and injured during the mass manhunt for Gabriel Wortman, who was dressed as a police officer and driving an RCMP car at the time of his crimes. Sorry, I missed a word there. Selective reading. I was describing Son of Rambo, what goes on. It was a funny story. I went to boarding school, and I was having some difficulty at one point in time. And my grandfather, he was a mean bastard. He could be, but he had a heart of gold. I'll tell you. He was a great judge too, and I watched him a couple of times and read some of his rulings. Anyway, he phoned up to my boarding school, and he's like, "I'm coming to visit my grandson," and nobody was allowed to come to my boarding school except during open house. I think it was. That was it. There was one day a year parents were allowed to come. Oh no, there was other days, but they were very selective, and the school chose them, you know, and they liked that air of authority, right? So they're like, "No, you're not coming to visit your grandson." He said, "Pardon?" He said, "No, nobody can come to visit the school." He said, I can't hear you. I'm having problems with the phone. I'll be there in 4 hours. And then he showed up, and I mean, it was a spooky thing. Anyway, I have selective eyesight probably too, like he had hearing. So maybe I have selective hearing too. In the statement taken April 21st, Morrison tells one of the investigators that he heard a call for assistance on the radio that Sunday. Oh, I thought he was going already to meet her, though. He heard Constable Heidi Stevenson respond that she would meet him at a position where he was parked near the Shubenacadie Wildlife Park. Have I got that one right yet? I hope so. Jesus, after all this time, probably not. Shortly after, he saw a Taurus coming his direction. Okay, we're going to work out the directions on this stuff. I think this is going to work well. And wondered whether it might be the suspect. He radioed Constable Stevenson, who said that was her. So he's just had this huge view. He was able to radio in the time, you know, oh yeah, look at that. There, I see a car. Okay, so I can pick up the radio. Hey, is that you? Come on. Morrison says then he moved his police vehicle to be in a better position to speak to her when she arrived to face Highway 2 near a stop sign. What? He then noted the approach, so he had time also to move his vehicle. Not just talk on the radio, but move his vehicle. Thanks, Tracy. I don't ask for things. If people want to give me that certain gesture, they can. And that would be greatly appreciated. He then noted the approaching marked vehicle had a push bar and made him pause. So he's had time to, I don't know, talk on the radio, wait for a response, move his car around, also pausing. Yeah. But otherwise, there wasn't anything different about the car. But as the vehicle got closer, he saw that it was a man driving, not Stevenson. And in his statement, Morrison reports that the suspect, quote, looked to have a melancholy expression. I believe it's melancholic. But anyway, some people, I don't know what the intelligence factor is to get into the RCMP. Oh, right. That'll lead to Paulson. Oops! Boom! As he turned in front of him, then had a grit look on his face as he began to raise his firearm. Morrison says the shooter started firing at him, describing that there were 3 or 4 shots, and it happened in a split second. Moving around, driving around, talking on radios. What split second? Don't worry. The statement goes on to describe how Morrison floored it and sped to the EHS station in Milford, where he radioed for help. It was during this time he heard on the radio that Stevenson had been shot. She died of her injuries. According to documents, an ambulance arrived at the EHS station, and then Morrison was taken to Colchester East Hants Health Center in Truro for treatment. It is noted that in the documents, by a redacted source, that, quote, hard body armor worn by Morrison stopped the bullet from entering his chest and abdomen. Now, I'd heard something about that before from a nurse somewhere, but the documents also contain information about where the shooter obtained his decommissioned police vehicles and some of the accessories he used to create the replicas. According to the documents, the shooter purchased several old police cars by credit card, GC Surplus, Ottawa, which is operated by Public Service and Procurement Canada. The purchases were made in August and September 2019. Sorry, I'm thinking as I'm reading. Wortman was killed by an RCMP officer when he was spotted getting gas at a station in Enfield. Now, there was something here I noticed, though it's just me probably being very nitpicky. I don't know. They're leaving out the shooter's identity. Could just be me. Just like in the warrants, you know? Located deceased. Did you guys notice that in the warrants? The original release of? I know I talked about it a bunch. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to have a field day. This is almost like a wet dream for me. Global. Nova Scotia gunman flagged for suspicious cash transactions before April shooting, docs show. Andrew Russell and Brian Hill. And more people I'm not familiar with. But maybe you people down in Nova Scotia know these people. I'm not sure. The gunman. Oh no. Did we do it again? Did we do it again? Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, actually, we'll get into the discussion I had with the police officer. Please, hopefully I don't forget. Maybe I can talk about that as I'm having some T&D. I'm going to come down there and I'm going to have some. Very good. Martian crashed into a guardrail. Yes. It's funny. It's really too bad that certain somebody went up there right away and got pictures of the guardrail and video. Thank you, you know who, because I asked if you could please do that while you were there, and you kindly obliged me. All of the posts are burned. The guardrail, 100% intact. We'll talk about that. The gunman who killed 23 people, it must be my selective eyesight, in Nova Scotia in April was flagged for multiple suspicious transactions to Canada's money laundering watchdog. I guess this is going to be FinTrack, right? For purchasing items, quote, intended for police use, and a $475,000 cash withdrawal from an institution that nobody can go to. Just try and go down to the Brinks. Maybe you can make a withdrawal. Maybe everybody can do that. Don't forget your code while you're there in your car with hubcaps. I thought they were all decommissioned police cars. Decommissioned police cars don't have hubcaps. Moving along. 13-hour spree, according to a newly unsealed court documents. The documents also include new details about the gunman's cousin, a retired RCMP officer. Oh, I think that might be code of conduct, criminal offense, who described the shooter as, quote, almost a career criminal in an interview with police after the shootings. Oh, is this the same one that gave them the uniform? The red serge uniform with Stetson and boots? Where was the regular issue uniforms and puffy jacket, yellow jacket, and windbreaker, and Halifax Regional Police uniform, or the badge? Oops. Or does Campbell forget saying those things? I don't. Maybe I'll have to go through my clips and find it again, just to refresh their memory. They have selective memory. The details were included in search warrant applications filed by the RCMP, which were released Monday by Provincial Court Justice Judge Laurel Halfpenny Macquarie, who is also under judicial review. Well, there's an application for one. I guess Global forgot to put that piece in there. Lorene, how's it going? According to the documents, the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center, FinTrack, of Canada, was made aware of suspicious transaction related to Gabriel Wortman's PayPal account towards, quote, the purchase of vehicles, accessories commonly used by police, including items explicitly labeled as being intended for police use via eBay. Oh, this is interesting. I thought it was this that he was buying it through his little clubs. Roy. Steve. The newly released documents indicate that suspicious transaction reports, STRs, were prepared by FinTrack on April 22nd and 30th after the shootings occurred. Well, that's great. Good to know they're right on top of things. I'm glad. I want my underwear back. I want my underwear back. Those guys, you can get fired too. Thank you. I want to fire you. You're my employee. I think I have the right to demand that you get fired. Under Canadian law, but I want my underwear back too. You're going to pay me. Pay me all of my money back. Then I'm going to disperse that to the families. Under Canadian law, financial institutions and other organizations are required to create STRs for transactions like cash withdrawals, deposits, unsourced deposits, and multiple deposits totaling more than $10,000, $9,999. After the fact. Let's just deal with that later. Because when was this done? April 22nd, 30th. When was the withdrawal done again? They're really behind on that one. Quote, the FinTrack report also outlined STRs with respect to credit cards associated with the gunman for purchases from GCS Ottawa or of more than 15,000, the document said. Not that I'm going to believe anything that they say, but I would really like to see the documents. You know, like the originals. If they don't want to fabricate them in their spare time. Because if they're there, why aren't you submitting them with the warrants? Missing? According to the documents, investigators at CIBC reported that in March, the gunman had requested to, quote, liquidate some of his investments amounting to $475,000. Quote, the gunman requested that $475,000 in $100 denominations, the document said, adding that the money was delivered to the gunman via a Brinks deposit March 30th from the Brinks institution. I've had large cash deliveries before. That's not the way it's done. I got a phone. I got to make an appointment. I got to wait a week. I got to go down there when the Brinks truck is going to be there, and I go in the safe, and they count it out for me. And I get bags. That's the way it always works. Global News reached out to CIBC for comment, but did not receive an immediate response. Handy that. FinTrack said maybe they'll get on that after the fact. Want my underwear back. FinTrack said that it is, quote, prohibited from disclosing information that it may have received or financial intelligence that it may have disclosed to police, law enforcement, or national security agencies relevant to a criminal investigation. There is no criminal investigation, like Andrew said at the beginning. He's dead. There's no trial. Or are they fucking with you all, including me? Maybe just a little. Bullshit detector going way off the charts. Ah, here's Harry's quote. Let's see. Oh yeah, you guys are not going to get the audio. Why has it got this crap? I don't want this crap. I don't want your crap. Go away. Nobody wants to buy your stuff.
You don't know what to believe. When you watch them on the news they have 4 or 5 different interviews at different times, and every interview they have, their words are different. They're stabbing themselves in the back, they're facing themselves. You wonder what the hell it is they're hiding, or what they're not telling, because everybody can see it. If you're telling the truth, your story's not going to change. Their stories do change, so they're lying. You watch their body language, you can tell they're lying. It's not right.
Wow. I'll say, I don't think I've ever heard that part of the interview. Oh, these families, I'll tell you, really strong. I thought it was going to be the quote where he says, I'm finding out the information. We're finding out the information, we being the families, from you being the media. Just like Yellow Belly today. Yellow Belly RCMP. Oh, you'll hear it in the media. We'll just tell you ahead of time. It's going to be in the media. Yellow Bellies. Honestly, to the great RCMP officers out there, I really don't think you want to be associated with cowardness and where they're all sending you down the river. So you can step ahead of this one and speak up. Do the right thing. And you're going to have people behind you. Lots of people, especially when the truth starts coming out. A consortium of media organizations, including Global News, have been fighting for months to have RCMP search warrants applications released and redactions lifted. That's our warrants, our police service, our Crown prosecutors fighting against us. Hello? Derp? I tell you, the intelligence factor here. What are we doing here? What are you doing here? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love your name, by the way. I just do. The truth. I love the truth. The newly released documents are still heavily redacted. Would that have something to do with Halfpenny Macquarie and the Sharpies? I'll be sure. Good judge. But include what appear to be more terrifying details about the gunman's common law spouse, where she describes being, quote, caught up with the ongoing COVID pandemic and preparing for the end of the world. Did any of you remember? I have it somewhere. The message from Mr. Wortman about engaging in business? He's going to make a business deal? Oh, right. But he wanted to hoard all his cash because the world was ending. Who goes and does a business deal when the world is ending? Derp. If you tell the truth, you don't need to hide in witness protection, do you? Do you? You could substitute other things in here. Common law spouse, girlfriend who didn't live, the common law who didn't live with him. Oh, and the important witness. Other revelations related to the rampage 18 to 19 include that it killed 23 people, including an RCMP officer, are a chilling firsthand account from RCMP Constable Morrison, who was shot by the gunman, and details related to the argument between the shooter and one of the victims of the community of Portapique. Oh. An unidentified friend of Aaron Tuck, who was killed along with his wife and teenage daughter, this is hitting closer to home, told police that he witnessed an argument between the gunman and Tuck prior to the shooting. Quote, Aaron Tuck wanted to sell his house in Portapique and move back to Cape Breton and wanted $48,000 to $58,000 for it, the document said. Redacted saw Aaron Tuck get into an argument with the gunman, as the gunman had offered Aaron $18,000 for the house. Now, does that mean that he's a mass murdering scuzzbag because he does this? Try and go and get a conviction with that. How many people sit around and lowball? I lived in Vietnam. Lowball was the name of the game. Every single transaction I did. Does that mean that I'm suddenly going to go and open up on 23 innocent people? No, it doesn't mean anything. To hot air. He also told police that by the end of August in 2019, quote, you could not tell the difference between the gunman's RCMP cruiser and a real one. Okay, just going to move past that for now. Morrison, who was wounded by the gunman, told investigators he was waiting in his police cruiser for Constable Heidi Stevens at the intersection of Highway 2 and 224, Shubenacadie, in central Nova Scotia. Morrison said that he was listening to his radio. What, music? Oh, no. And found it confusing to understand where the suspect was, but thought the suspect was in the Brookfield area. Not expecting the suspect to be coming his way at the time. He told investigators he noted that a Taurus was coming his direction. Oh, this is gonna get good. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. His direction. Okay. Towards him, we're saying now. Well, I suppose it could be in the back, but certainly not worded that way. But was unsure that if it was the suspect. He told police a push bar mounted on the vehicle gave him pause, but relaxed as Stevenson was nearby. As the police car approached, quote, ellipsis. Morrison realized that it was not Constable Stevenson and recognized the driver to be the suspect from the picture of the gunman. Do you know what? Actually, funnily enough, I've seen pictures of some police officers who look surprisingly like Chad Morrison could. So you got to have pretty fucking good eyes. But that ball cap and stuff that disappeared. Quote, as the police car, Stevenson recognized the driver to be the suspect in the picture of the gunman. that he had received to be on the lookout for, the document said. Morrison, quote, Morrison said the suspect looked to have a melancholy expression as he was turning in front of him, and that he had a grit look on his face. Grits are what you get as a side dish down in the South. Grit look on his face as he started to raise his gun. So he's looking at him. It's coming towards him. Okay. Morrison, quote, Morrison said the suspect brandished a handgun out of the window and began firing at him. I got to think about this one. Sorry if I'm pausing. This is all rather enlightening. And began firing at him, the document said, noting that 3 or 4 shots were fired in a split second. Okay, so I like the selective quotation marks and quoting here. I have to read this, even with the Sharpie. I like that marker, by the way. I'm going to get me one of those magnums. Magnum. Sounds like something. The RCMP constable hit an emergency response button and called for help to say that he had been shot and drove with his damaged arms, right? You know, because he's steering with his damaged arms. In Milford, where you could still see a section of the highway where the gunman had opened fire, and black SUVs with police lights heading towards the scene believed Stevenson had been shot. Lots of details. Morrison heard a police officer say on the radio, "Stevenson is down," the document said. Morrison was transferred to Colchester Hospital. I believe that a hard body armor worn by Constable Morrison stopped the bullet from entering his chest or abdomen. An unidentified person in the documents. Okay, yes, so I know who that person is. Interesting. Okay, this is getting better. Now, I can also talk with you about, there's going to very much be a part 2, which will be reviewing the documents in their heavily redacted entirety. And then we're going to have a bit more to talk about. But so I went late last week to go and visit with a police officer who I know, retired, with over 20 years accident investigation experience. And I took him it's in my other room, piles of photos. That's why I was asking for them. And thank you to the 4 people who sent those along. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you. The 4 people, very nice of you to help me with that. He reviewed those pictures, and he and I had a bit of a conversation, and he was somewhat familiar with, a little bit, peripherally, with the story. And while he did not have any definitive answers, and obviously he said, I can't, because I'm not there, and I'm not, I can't actually see what happened on the ground, but I can see the different angles that you've got here. I explained the satellite. I explained, different quotations that the RCMP had said. He said, and photographs such as the guardrail. Guardrail, which is rather critical. He said, from his opinion, what happened as they have recounted it could not have happened. So even though he didn't validate a ton of things, he said in his opinion, we are 100% on the right track. This is not what they portray at all. At all. Could not have happened that way. The first question he had when he looked through the pictures, because I didn't want to taint his opinion, was I just gave him the pictures, and then he asked, what did the RCMP say? So I told him. And then he thought about it for a little bit, looked at the pictures some more. And he said, first question he had was, where's the damage on the other vehicle? I can't see any damage on the other vehicle, which has always been one of the big points that we've said, right? There's no damage on her car that we can see. Now, the only place that could have been damaged on her car, I'm using in quotation marks, her car, because the RCMP say the heavily damaged vehicle was his, and that is a direct quote from them, would be on the passenger side. But it doesn't appear that there is that. But the physics, which is what I have been trying to talk about for a long time, way back when, I don't remember what that video was, where I was running through it I was trying to get Adrian to show it on a Google map. You can't have the cars come to rest as they do, given the accident. She's traveling the correct flow of traffic. That means she's coming up the ramp. She's going northbound now, too, right? Her car somehow ends up on the other side of his vehicle. If he was traveling south on 2, she's traveling on the ramp, and there's, I don't know, this. Her car goes over here, down the ramp, does not somehow go on the other side. You follow me? You follow me? No matter what direction you take, even if he was going northbound on 224, right? Not possible. Then it would be damage on the other side of the vehicle. She would go through the guardrail. No damage to the guardrail. What it does, funnily enough, look like is her car comes around and immobilizes his car by parking in behind him, so he can't reverse. Where did the damage from his vehicle come from? Or on, again, I'm using air quotes, his vehicle. Always been a big question. There's not a push bar there. I think that one's kind of old news. It's interesting they want to keep hammering on this one a little bit. I think that's because people are starting to see the push bar stuff in the mainstream light. But how does he have all this damage on his vehicle when there's seemingly none on hers? She was coming up the ramp in Shuby. He was coming in the opposite direction when he turned toward her, ramming her. Okay, right. So let's do the physics. He's heading south. She's coming north. Now, how does she get damage? Here. Okay? You hit the inside of that car. It's physics. Where is the car going to end up? Is it going to fly forward? Is it going to end up on the other side of him? No. It's going to travel, especially if you're hitting an object on the side, which is the only part that could be potentially damaged. That would throw it into the woods. Not on the other side of his car with no damage to the guardrail. Am I explaining it? I wish I could model it with three dimensions. I conceptually, you just have to work through the accident. And possibly I'm very, very bad at explaining this. I tried a long time ago. I don't know if it was very successful. I don't remember what video that was. Very long time ago. Because the correct flow of traffic was what triggered it for me. Huge. Correct flow of traffic. Okay, she's coming up the ramp. How the hell does she end up where? Billiards. There you go. It's just like playing a game of billiards. When you hit things, they end up in a certain way, right? You can't have physics that defies physics. It doesn't work. The best of my knowledge. And somebody who's a court qualified expert. Yes, he was not on the scene, but he saw a sufficient amount of evidence, except for one angle, which I always find very curious. There's the one angle pictures weren't taken from, even though there were cars right there. Strange. Three angles. We have essentially three angles of photographs. Fourth angle is always missing. Just like down in Enfield, the one angle is missing. Two angles, actually, down two angles. I apologize. You think that it would have spun her car toward the rail. If she's traveling up the ramp, the passenger side was the only side that can be damaged. The driver's side is fine. The driver's side is fine. So that means he had have to cross the lane of traffic. She would have to cut outside. He hits her. Where is the momentum of force coming? Where is that going to hit? You hit something on the side. What does it do? Does it go this way? This way? Towards the woods? I don't see how it would travel around this way. I don't know. It means, yes, absolutely, like 100%. You know where that ramp is. You've been there, right? She's traveling the correct flow of traffic. And that's what I said to Adrian in that video. Because that was right after the 28th press conference. Let me see if I still got that. What video was it? I was trying to explain it. And I do just such a piss pile job sometimes. I think people, what? Why do I have to create a channel? I just go to my own effing channel. Excuse me. I don't quite understand that man's angle on things. He's an interesting cat, that is for sure. Okay. Let's see here. Why do I have to create a channel? Okay, there's something screwy. Anyways, It's back around, I don't know why, maybe they deleted. They deleted a video already. So those of you who got to watch the interview with Sharon, and thank you very much, Sharon, for doing that. Somebody had to tell me last week. It got deleted sometime last week. I wonder, I haven't gone through and seen what else that has been deleted, but they didn't tell me about it. She could have been coming north. Again, if she's coming north, so then, okay, that's fine. She's turning her direction of travel. She doesn't have the same amount of momentum. He hits her car is going backwards, right? The force of the physics of the accident. It doesn't work. Maybe I'm wrong, but he saw it right away. He's like, no, this is not right. That's a court qualified expert, somebody with over 20 years experience in accident reconstruction. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, he said, I wouldn't be able to testify to something like that. But what I'm looking at and what you've shown me, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And the no damage to the guardrail is, which funnily enough, if it shows up in the warrants, is very telling. Because if they're saying that the guardrail is damaged, that's complete and utter bullshit, because I have video that is dated, date stamped, time stamped photos, no damage on that guardrail, none, zero zip. Anybody who's been there, any family member that's watching this who's been there, and there's, I suspect, one or two in here right now, knows. The stickers and all of that, the posts were burned. It wasn't replaced. Nothing was changed. The guardrail was burnt, like singed marked on it, heat damage, right? So it was never replaced, and not a scratch on it. Not a scratch. So if they try and come back and say, oh, it's damage, which I'm reading from the report seems to indicate that the warrants seem to indicate, right? That can't possibly be. We all have pictures and video of it, including Mr. Moneypenny. I know you have some as well. And I think mine's from the 20th, maybe. So anyway, there we go. The geography of your point, Grinder. Still don't know why she didn't pass Morrison on Highway 2. Yes, absolutely. 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 Unless... This is why I said, I think they told the truth, and I'm going to try and get the third one. The third one. Fuck. Somewhere I have the proof, definitive proof, that I believe he was in Milford. Not just the warrants. I have 2 statements, independent, corroborating that, and verified one of them, most certainly who that person is. So I don't know why they would want to lie. They've gone very deathly silent, which is interesting. Right after they said that, but I believe that there was a crime scene in Milford. Now, and it was there for 2 days, funnily enough, which is one of the longest crime scenes outside of Portapique. And that was another thing that triggered him. He's like, 13 hours? Oh, yes, there was a few more statements I can say as to that. They just come back. My memory sometimes. 13 hours to investigate that crime scene. I think it was 13 hours. They were done by 2 or 3, between 2 and 3 in the morning. And that's from somebody who lives looking upon the accident site. And has, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And they were able to say that the crime scene was finished between 2 and 3 in the morning. And then they came back the next day. They did the raking, which he said was absolute balls. You would need to wear your forensic stuff. You don't use rakes. You don't use rakes. But he said 13 hours. He agreed with me. 13 hours is ridiculous to do a double homicide investigation, an accident involving at least one police car, desecration of human remains, arson. This was a fucking major crime scene involving a homicide involving a police officer, and you're done in 13 hours. This is almost as ridiculous as them wrecking the house, the scene of a murder, while they're still putting out the fire with a bullet, with a backhoe. No, you don't do that. No. So, hey, Ozzy, great to see you. And Blue Nose, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, bulldozing. It's all bulldozing us. Snowing. I like to always call it snowing. There's just snow. So enough of this nonsense. Yeah, flattening. They were literally still putting out the fire. The fireman is sitting there with the hose. It's blasting out water, and there's the backhoe just bashing it down. Huh? You don't do that to a crime scene. A murder scene? The other point he said was there would be no reason. I mean, he basically just agreed with most of the things I said, which was there is no reason to take her car to the medical examiners. Zero. Her car belongs at forensics lab, but they towed her car to the medical examiner, even though she was killed outside of the car. Even if she was shot in the car, he said, it doesn't make a difference. It goes to forensics. Goes to forensics. Meanwhile, Joey Weber goes to Truro, to the tow yard. No. No, 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 no. So just a little bit more to gnaw on. Yeah. And we'll be back with part 2, which will be even more fun. And I'll have a little bit more time to think. And obviously, you guys can get a hold of me via the Twitter, the Discord, or by email. Nova Scotia Investigators at gmail.com. And I'm on Twitter at Little Gray Cells. Or feel free to leave a message below. I do hope that you're all well. Special prayers. Tara's she's really not getting a break on any of this stuff, you know. Her uncle died. She's really having a tough go. But you know, life is like that. But we just will keep motoring along, and I really do appreciate all of your guys' assistance, patience, and contributions. Because we're the ones that are, I think, you know, a big part of what's pushing this forward. That's you. Thanks very much. God bless.